Hey everybody, Secondhand Dan here, coming to you from Pittsburgh Steelerland. Steelers lost to the Browns on Thursday night. It was fun to watch, but we get to play the Browns again December 8th, so we're looking for a comeback then. Anyway, I'm hanging out in my shop. I've got quite the mess to clean up off some workbenches. I thought maybe you'd like to tag along. And I'd like to thank some of you subscribers and viewers who have subscribed and have hit the like button. I appreciate that. My last two videos, at least in my eyes, are doing well. So if you're not a viewer who has seen those, go ahead and check out some of my last two videos, if not even several more beyond the last two. But thanks viewers, thanks subscribers, and thanks for hitting that like button. Well, it's Sunday afternoon. Here it's going on 1 o'clock. I got to heat up the coffee. It's church coffee again. So I drank about half that cup at church. I had a cup before I left the house to go to church, so sometimes I don't have a cup of coffee Sunday morning until I get to church, and I usually drink the whole thing, but drank half of it. So it's cold here in my workshop, so the temperature, let's take a look at the temperature. Look at this thing. The temperature is, you gotta tilt your head the right way to find the red line. There it is. It's 48 degrees. I mean, that's workable. Good Lord knows I would like it warmer, but to heat this space up, you know, it costs money. For the amount of putzing around I do in it, especially on a Sunday afternoon, I could see if I was going to yield several $100s for a couple of hours of labor here in the workshop, I would definitely set the heat in here. But right now, I'm probably gonna, putz around for an hour, and then maybe two at the most, and then I'll soon be going to my mom's house, where I meet my son and my grandson and his wife. We have dinner over there. So hold on. I got the radio on in the background. I can hear it, but I'm gonna take it down one more click because I have to worry about, copyright infringements. Don't want to do that because I'm not sure what the repercussion would be after a while, but they did tag my one video for copyright, and they named the song and the artist. So nothing has happened, but they tagged it. All right, I just mounted you in the tripod, so I'll flip it around. There we go. Now I'm gonna go turn on another set of lights. We had lunch after church. The wife, her daughter, and the daughter's significant other, a fellow by the name of Mike. I like Mike. We went to a steak hoagie place. It was good. Some place called Charlie's. Probably about 4 miles from my house right here. All right, well, you can see my workbenches are a mess. That seems to be the usual. But let me start cleaning them up. I mean, I started multiple projects again. Means you get multiple tools out for multiple reasons with the wood plane over here, but I've got a little rant. I know I did a big rant on a Dremel tool, if you want to see that video, but this is based on it being cold. I was searching for a heater not in the shop here, but in the showroom. I have a gas heater, and that gas heater is natural gas, not propane, but when you turn it on, it's on consistently. So if you set it on low, it runs consistently in the low range. You set it on high, it runs consistently in the high range. It's not operated by a thermostat. So whenever the room gets to be a comfortable temperature, it doesn't kick off. It'll continue to run. So that means if I was to leave the building, let's say I have it on now, and it's needed now. What if I left the building for a couple days and I didn't turn it off, and we had a warm spell and it got to be 60 degrees outside? That heater would continue to run because it's not going to say, oh, it's warm enough in the showroom, I need to click off. No, it's going to continue to run. So I hunted down another natural gas heater that has a thermostat in it on the Facebook Marketplace. You know, I've been looking off and on over a week or so, and for one reason, you want, when it shuts off, you're going to save on money. So you want the heater to shut off when it's not needed. Why heat a space that's warm enough? And especially since I'm going away to Florida, I won't be here even if it does warm up. So we typically leave in December, and you know, if we get a warm spell while I'm away, the heater would be running and running. And I'd have to tell my son, hey, would you run over there and turn the heater off? Well, that's inconvenient for him. Then he has to remember to do that. And then I have to say, maybe a couple days later, I'm watching the news. Oh, it's going to be cold again. Hey, can you run over there and turn the heater back on? It's just not practical to do that. So it would behoove me to get a heater that can sense the temperature in the room. And I want to keep things from freezing. I'm not worried about keeping bodies warm, but the heater in the showroom behind me, the heat also wafts upstairs and tends to maintain a little bit of warmth upstairs. We do have an additional heater upstairs to make it uber comfortable when we want to, but the heater in the showroom is enough to keep the pipes in the upstairs apartment freezing. So, I mean, the heater downstairs will waft up and keep the pipes up in the ceiling that supply the apartment, keeps them from freezing and stuff like that. So, anyway, I found the heater I wanted on the marketplace, and texted the man, and he had a price, and I said, well, you know, are you agreeable? Oh, would you be interested in an offer? And he came back with, I'd be able to take this, which was $25 less than its posted price. I said, okay, I'd be willing to do that. I'd like to come out on Sunday after church and purchase that. He said, that sounds good. Let's do that. So I texted him again Sunday morning and said, we're still doing this? He said, yeah, I'll text you my address when you're ready. You know, I said, I'm going to church, so after church, I want to head your way. He said, I'll text you the address. So about 15 minutes before church service is over, I check, and it says, I just sold the heater to somebody else. I'm like, that wasn't right. We had an understanding that I was coming to buy this heater after church. You had the understanding at 10 o'clock the night before, and I texted him before I left my house to go to church. Are we still doing this? He said, yes, I'll give you the address when you're on your way. And I even told him what time church generally was. So I thought that was kind of wrong, because the man did not keep his word. I have dealings with people on Marketplace, and if I don't want to hold it, they'll say, you know, can you hold it till Friday when I get paid? And they're texting me like on Wednesday. And I'll say, no, I will not hold it till Friday when you get paid. But I'll say, text me on Friday morning, and if it's still here and you still want it, and it's, you know, 8 hours away from when you're done getting off work or something like that, and I say, I'll hold it until you get here this evening, I will hold it. I will keep my word. I'm not going to say, oh, somebody jumped in the afternoon, so I couldn't wait for you to get off of work and buy it. I won't do that. If I say I'm going to hold it, I'll hold it. Even if I said, hey, you're coming from out of state, I'll hold it for a week. If I say that, I'll do it. And sometimes you get other people saying, is this item available? I'm just like, sorry, right now I've got somebody that says they're coming for it. If they fail to come for it, I'll let you know. So bottom line is you're only as good as your word, whether it be in text or off your tongue. Keep your word. That's how I judge a person. I believe that's how the good Lord judges us too. Keep your word. If you say you can do it, do it. If you say you can't, you can't. If you say that you won't, then you don't have to. Just be true to your word. Yes? Yes. I actually have somebody coming to buy a pair of tires on wheels. They're really, I guess it's about the wheels. The tires are, they're worn out. But they fit an F-150, a Ford truck. And we came to an understanding, I think early yesterday, that he's coming for the wheels. I said, I will hold them till you get here, which is like a day from when we first started texting. And since that time, I had somebody else text, are these available? I said, sorry, it's in talks right now. I'm not going to say, well, because I know that person wasn't on their way yet. I could have said, well, this person lives nearby. Let me sell it to them and not worry about this the first person, because they might change their mind. Yes, they might change their mind. But I gave my word that I would give you until 2 o'clock today to show up and get them. So if they was to text me at noon and say, we changed our mind, we're not coming, well, they would have been not true to their word. This stuff, well, I just changed my mind. That's not an excuse. That's just not keeping your word. Now, I could say, if my wife fell down the steps, I'm not able to come and get for the tires. If the story's true, sure, I can understand that. But you tell me, I just changed my mind. That's not keeping your word. So that's enough of a rant on that subject. So let me get back, clean this workbench up. It seems like this workbench is more often covered than it's clean, but is a clean workbench is a valuable thing, but a cluttered one shows that at least I'm actually doing some stuff. Provided I don't just leave it cluttered indefinitely. I always like to try and clear it off for the next project. Sometimes it seems like the project is clearing off the workbench. Put this clamp back up. I even got a pile of junk on the floor because I started working on another project and then I needed a piece of chain for it. Nothing heavy, even just that light chain that they hang fluorescent lights from the ceiling from. Something like that. I started looking for it and I ended up cleaning out several shelves and taking some stuff to Goodwill to get rid of, because I got too much junk. So I said, spread the wealth around, spread the junk around. So now I got a pile of junk on the floor from when I was sorting out one of the bins. And because I sold a lamp up at the antique market, so now I've got room for another one. And it had like a tripod base that I sold up at the antique mall. So let's put another tripod lamp together. Well, I actually have one put together. Let me show it to you. Now that's kind of weird looking, but people like weird. This is actually for photography. It's called a Kodak Polo Light. And I guess it's some kind of polarizing lens film on here. And the light bulb goes in the back and shines through here. So I'm going to try and sell it, just as a unique reading lamp. The bulb that I have installed, I put in here, is a typical LED. I guess there was probably some high intensity floodlight bulb or definitely photography related that went in here if you were going to use it for its original purpose. Now this lamp is from 1966. The tripod, I think, is from 2006. I married the two together. And you see a lot of tripods at yard sales. But I actually had to put this together. This was not attached to this, so I put that on there, and I found out it would sit on this tripod. So I'm going to, it's brand new, from 1966. It had never been used. Actually had the paperwork with it. It was in this box. It even says Kodak Pololite Model 2. So I should try and run it up today. If not, I can't do it tomorrow. The antique mall's closed on Mondays. Here's one of those Edison bulbs. So-called because I guess Edison's original light bulb looked similar to this. But they call all these things now Edison bulbs with the LED filaments in there. That it's a throwback design, and they work good in a lot of my lamp projects. But I think I will keep the LED bulb in this polo lamp, because it's the way that the light bulb is exposed on that. I don't think it would look as nice with an Edison bulb being hanging way out in the air, like that one hangs out in the air. I don't know. They could always change it if that's not the bulb for them if they buy the lamp. But the last lamp I sold up there, it also, the tripod base was a photography one where you could actually crank up the one part and you could extend the legs on it. And I married an aluminum, it was called like a can light, like a floodlight from like a theater. It was aluminum can on a yoke. I'd show you a picture of it, but my phone's doing the recording right now, and that's where the picture is, up on the phone. And I haven't achieved the ability yet to, like, boop, insert picture, and then boop, go back to video. I hope to do that. It's a slow process learning this editing stuff. Again, I'm using CapCut. I've learned a little bit on it so far, and I keep going back to it. So I know maybe how to add some music. Oh, here's a tripod over here that I was looking for chain. Look at this old wooden thing. Looks like a set of crutches at first glance, but now it has telescoping legs in this end of it. But they don't, the rest of it does not collapse up into, you would have thought that this part would have pushed up into here, but it doesn't. Oh, I'm missing a bolt or a rivet. Oh, I'm not missing a rivet. Those are just spring tension held on. That can come off of there. I see. Well, anyway, it don't have to come off. Let me pop that one back on. But I intend on making this a lamp. I'll find another can light and put a neck on it too, because it's, but I put these eyelets in here. I put one of those eyelets in each leg, and now I need a piece of chain to go between them because this doesn't have any stops, and it'll totally spread completely out flat. So I need to hook that together with some chain to keep the legs from going too far. And that's how I got started in that project of emptying out bins and boxes and stuff like that, and ended up taking a little load up to the Goodwill place of stuff that's never going to sell here, that's just accumulating for too long. So hopefully it'll find a good home through the Goodwill. Here's the paperwork for that polo light. Kodak, Rochester. Kodak is out of business. But here's the packing slip that came with it. And it says 1966 on it. And it had never been used. Had never been put together. So maybe I'll put these in a little baggie and hang them on the lamp when it's for sale up at the flea market. That's what I'll do. All right, well, let me move this polo lamp back out of the center of the room here. I think my coffee's gone cold already. My church coffee. Bzzz. All right, well, I'm going to give you guys a break while I clean up this workbench so you don't have to get too bored watching. Now, I guess I'm still mulling over that heater because, anyway, let me show you the heater that I'm actually using. So this is the heater in the showroom. And it's a good heater, but like I said, either you're set on high or you're set on low. And this will never go off. It will not say, if it gets 70 degrees in here, this thing's still going to run. If it gets 80 degrees, this thing will still be on. So I'm trying to get one with a thermostat, and I've been searching and found one, and the price was right. The location was right. I didn't have to drive an hour away for that replacement for this. So now I'm on the hunt again for the replacement for this one. Anyway, in the middle of cleaning up the workbench, I thought I'd take a break and finish this little project up. Now this here has to be attached to there. When I first brought this in, this was split in half. It's actually, these are factory seams right here, where it was originally glued together, but they had been separated, so this piece was separated. So I got my biscuit joiner out. And for those who don't know what a biscuit joiner is, let me show you. A lot of times I find myself doing projects between other projects. But here's the biscuit joiner, a Ryobi. I believe I brought this brand new probably 15 years ago. It's a nice tool. You can, I think, still buy these at Harbor Freight. It's not the Ryobi brand, but this deck here, listen to these wing nuts up on the side, this folds down. And that's where you set it. And you can raise it or lower it. And what you do is you generally, you'll find the center of a piece of wood that's broken. Like this was broken and I needed to rejoin that. I could have just put glue on it and pushed the two halves together. But instead I wanted more strength than just doing that. So to do that, you cut notches inside. Here's your wood. You cut a notch here and a notch there with this tool. This tool you sit down here and you push on it, spring loaded, and it'll plow a hole. And then you do on the opposite piece of wood that's going in there. If this was the opposite piece of wood, you plow a hole with this tool, and then you'd glue them up, and this biscuit would slide in that half of the hole, and it would slide into that half of the hole. So this biscuit would be internalized inside there. So and that's what I did on this. There's one inside there, and there's one about down here. And I had set this, I think, about 3/8. This is like 3/4 inch thick, so halfway is 3/8. So that put this biscuit right in the center of the depth of this piece of wood. And then I clamped it. And then I was ready to, then I sanded it, wire brushed it and sanded it. I know it doesn't look like it, but I wanted to keep a lot of that patina. So I didn't try and get it to look brand new. You want some of that, whatever's on there. So, but there was a lot more on there, but I left enough on it to make it interesting. So then I go and to put it on the stool, and wouldn't you know, the other side snaps off. It didn't take much pressure, so I had to pull the biscuit joiner back out and then do this side. Biscuit there, biscuit there, biscuit there, and a biscuit there. So there's a total of 4 biscuits in here. So now I've got to glue this onto the stool. I mean, not glue, I got to screw it onto the stool. So the easiest way to do that is to, of course, work on a workbench and put this upside down. Now there's some old holes in here where it was screwed down, but they're pretty shaky. So I'm going to go with some fresh holes and fresh screws. And this is rocking that way. Now I had put this piece of wood on the stool on the last time I glued those 2 halves together and weighted it to try and see if there's any distortion in the stool top that would match it. There we go. And it's largely right back where it started from, but I'm going to kick it maybe just like a 1/4 inch so I don't wind up in the old screw holes, which are probably stripped out. Now I'm just going to make sure I'm the same distance all the way around for overhang. Not that it would be very noticeable if I wasn't, but just keep things in proper. You should try and maintain an even keel. So maybe I'll just use this nut as a gauge to see if I'm the same distance from the edge. There. Okay, I think we're, all right, that looks good to me. You can see I took a lot of that rock out when I was rocking back and forth when I first set it on that wood. That means somehow, some way, this metal frame is a little bent, the wood's a little bent, but now they're matching again. So now I'm going to have to drill some holes. It's going to take 4 screws to hold this in place, so it goes in there. I'm actually just going to drop the drill right through that hole rather than try and mark them and then go, because right now I know it's sitting right where I want it. All right, well, the screw I'm planning on using, I got 4 of these Phillips. I think I actually took 2 out of there that had hex nuts on them, and they were an odd size. It's almost like they were metric, but you wouldn't have expected metric on something that old, because my 1/4 inch wouldn't fit and the next 5/16 wouldn't fit. And so I just stopped hunting for a socket, and they were actually loose enough to take out with my fingers or pliers anyway. But we know the wood is 3/4 inch deep, so this screw here is 5/8. And then when you allow for the metal in here, that'll even pull it back further, making it shorter than 5/8. So we know at 3/4, that leaves us a good ace before it would actually start to poke out through the other side. So we're going to drill our hole, but we don't want our hole to go all the way through. So we got to be careful it doesn't, even if the screw isn't going all the way through, we don't want the hole to go all the way through. So there's several tricks you can do. Make sure your bit is nice and tight, because you don't want it sliding up inside the chuck if you're going to make a depth gauge. Last time I used a socket, so you do something like this and you'll only drill in that far. But that looks like it's going to be, yeah, right now that sticks out too much. That's a whole 3/4, so I got to loosen it up and drop the bit in a little more. Better a little too short than a little too long, because you don't mind the screw biting into the last bit of wood where there actually isn't even a hole drilled, but not too much. Right now it's set at half, so I think I need like another 1/16. So let me pull this bit up a 1/16 more. Okay, let's see where we're at. Okay, that's coming out that 9/16. So I'm going to try that. Okay, need my impact driver. That'll just save a lot of cranking. But you got to be careful that, because you can't necessarily feel how much torque you're putting on something, that if it's resisting, that you don't force it. Maybe I have to go back and make the hole bigger or deeper. Yeah, I think that was pretty good, pretty good. I can get my fingernail under the screw right now. Let's just see what happens with the next one. Get my, where's my spacer? There it is. Oh, I'm putting it on the screw gun. I need to put it on the drill bit. There's actually 5 screws in this bag, which, who knows, it came with something. But yeah, there's a little play. I can pull the frame up and down, and it says tighten this up a hair more. I still hear a little click, so that means I probably go another 1/4 inch turn on this screw. There we go. The Eagle has landed. So turn it to the next hole. Put my depth spacer on. Drill, baby, drill. That's actually the name of one of my videos. If you want to check that one out, Drill, baby, drill. Okay, another screw. Now the first screw I know I didn't put in tight because I wanted to make sure I got 1 or 2 of the other ones in before I started tightening them down. A good way to tell a lot of times if your screw is landed is try and get your fingernail under it. And this one feels like I can still get my fingernail under it, so I'll give it another 1/4 turn. There we go. Now an old stool like this is considered industrial. And a lot of people love the industrial look. It's definitely in vogue right now. So that's why, as far as the finish on this, I'll probably dust the cobwebs off. Maybe, rub a dry rag on it to clean it up. But you really don't want to sand it and paint it, because then you take away all its charm. Getting back to that heater thing, I guess I've only got a little over 2 weeks before I have to head down to Florida, and I want to make sure I have the proper heater in, so I don't have to worry about whether I'm wasting too much gas heating the place up. I mean, just because you can afford it doesn't mean you want to waste it. It wouldn't break me especially if I just left it on low setting and it continued to heat, but I'd rather have that money for other things. All right, well, I guess I'll start wiping this thing down. Like I said, knock the cobwebs off. It looks a little greasy, so I'm going to use a little bit of spray cleaner on it. Now, as far as keeping your word, today I spoke to a gentleman I met at the flea market. Very nice fella. And I told him about my place of business, and he was, you know, somewhat enthused and interested. And he said that he was coming down after he left the flea market. Well, that was hours ago, so he hasn't shown up. But I don't have a problem with that because it wasn't like a commitment. We didn't say, well, I'll be there at 10:15, and and I said yes, and I'll be sure and be there. I said, I'm going out to lunch. When you leave this flea market, when do you think you'll be around? He said, maybe an hour or so. He didn't show because either he forgot or may have another appointment. But like I said, we didn't have a transaction agreement. All right, well, this is definitely cleaning up some. The rag's getting dirtier. But it seems like grease on here. This probably came out of maybe an auto shop, diesel shop. So I might have to do a secondary wipe down with something that's a little more suited for removing greasiness. Now, people like rustic, but they don't like nasty. I mean, grease is nasty. So maybe I'll wipe it down with, I have charcoal starter. Several bottles of that. When I'm at yard sales, sometimes we put a group of together of different cleaning solutions or liquids that they're trying to sell out of their garage. If I see one of those, I'll throw it in our pile. And lighter fluid, charcoal fluid, is basically kerosene. A lot of things are just basically the same product as another with just a different name on them. I could use some engine degreaser maybe. Well, there's a name on this stool. I'm trying to read it upside down. UHL Steel, the Toledo Metal Furniture Company. All right, well, let me put a coat of this engine degreaser on it. Oh, I think I shut that across the room. These don't have fan sprays on. They usually just straight stream. So, prove my aim here. I wish they gave the option of being either fan or stream. Every once in a while you come across a nozzle that you can turn it one way or another to get different effects out of it. Speaking of nozzles, I mean, I'm a little disappointed. Well, no use crying over spilt brake cleaner, parts clean, brake cleaning fluid. This can took a dive off the workbench and landed on its spray and broke it clean off. And I had just bought this too. It couldn't have been in my building for like maybe a week. I don't know if I sprayed but maybe one thing with it. Man, I'll still use it. Now just jam a screwdriver down into it as I need to get some of the substance out of it, but definitely makes it a lot harder to use. I need a better rag. That one was cold and wet and greasy. Yeah, I can see stuff splashed all the way over here from that engine degreaser. All right, let me grab another rag. Fresh rag. I need it to mop up the stuff off the workbench. So let me first put my biscuit joiner away. Got a few drops of cleaner on it. And it won't hurt, it'll only help clean it, right? I hate putting things away in cases. This one ain't too bad, but so many of them. It's easier to do a jigsaw puzzle and put something back in its case when it comes to power tools. Oh yeah. Now, I'm not sure what the base product of engine cleaner is, but it smells like a petroleum product, so I guess I'll have to Google that. Hey Google, what's engine cleaner made out of? All right, well, I pretty much got it degreased. So, and while I was cleaning it up, you see that's blue paint. And the seat was actually, had blue spray paint on it. Like I said, the pieces were broken, but it looked like they spray painted the one side blue and not the other. But most of that came off with a wire brush, and then I followed up with a sander. But while I was degreasing this, and moving it around, I realized we are missing a retainer bolt there. See, there's supposed to be 4. There's one there, and there's one there. So it's 2 on each side. Well, 3 and 4 is missing. So I was able to go over to my 1/4 inch and smaller drawer, root through it, and come up with the right bolt. See how it's got the square shoulder on it, smooth head. So that is near perfect for it. What makes it not perfect is it doesn't have any patina on it. It's still shiny new, but that's such a small thing. That amount of newness is insignificant. I mean, you could, in theory, I guess, run it on the wire wheel and then dip it in a mild acid, and it would maybe develop a patina on it. But I'm not going to bother with that. It's just going in there, so we need to get a nut on the other side. So now we got to go to the nut drawer. 1/4 inch nuts and smaller. All right. Now, when this stool came in here, I probably picked it up at a yard sale for $5, and it was already the side was already cracked. One side of the wood top was already broken, so I knew what it was, but I knew what it could be. So now that I've repaired it, I think I've increased its value probably 10 times over. And the reason for that square shank is so that nut doesn't spin in there. That little bolt doesn't spin, and it looks nice. They could have gone with nuts on there, but the button head looks a lot more attractive than a... Let me tighten up these other ones. They feel a little loose. Looks a lot more attractive than a hexagon shape. Wow, this one's taken a lot more turns than I expected. Well, I guess, you know, the thing is probably darn near 100 years old. Let's check 2 more to go. Now this one ain't as loose as the other one. 1 more to go. Oh, this one's way loose. Let me swing it around and get a better position on it. Now somebody that would buy this might, you know, want it for their shop. They might even want it for their kitchen. Or they might want it for their bar. There we go. Another neat feature about this stool is this spring-loaded lever here allows you to adjust the height. See these notches? So the longer your legs are, the higher you need the stool. So like I said, I took a $5 stool and probably turned it into a $100 stool. I'll have to check the market on it. You know, it's based on several factors. How many features does your stool have? How ornamental does it look like? The actual age of it. The overall construction, you know, is it not a cheap wobbly thing, but well engineered? This one even has a footrest ring on it. Me, my stools are over here. This is what I like to work off of. I'm not concerned about looking vintage in my shop here. I'm more concerned about, I guess, comfort and functionality. All right, well, let's stand it up. Ta-da! I did stain this after I had sanded it. I stained it. So I'm happy with the way it turned out. Let's put maybe a dry buff on it to make sure I haven't left any greasy residue, because I won't want the first person to who buys it and takes it home and sits on it get a greasy butt. Yeah, see, there ain't much on there. I got just a scooch. No, I think it's set kind of high. I guess it'd be the right height if you're going to put it on a bar. Oh, finding some more grease here now that the stool is raised. I'm still happy with the way it turned out. You know, if it had been warm summer weather, I might have taken it outside and really doused it with the engine cleaner. But it's cold outside. I have the hose shut off for the winter. And so I don't want to work out in the cold. But condition is reflected in the price. So check out the overall condition and then price it. If it looked a little better than it looks like what it is, I'd be asking more. If it looked a little less than what it looks like right now, I'd be asking less. That's why when some people, they'll come up to your item, you know, back in my flea market days, often, you know, if I was to put $100 on this, and somebody would bound to walk up and say, "What? There's a notch in the wood." I'm like, that's not news to me. I know that. That's why it's priced accordingly to what it is, not with what you can find that you think is wrong with it. I've already priced it for what it is. Now, every once in a while, maybe somebody can point something out that I missed. And that only happens like maybe one time out of 50 when I price something. I'm like, oh, okay, I did not see that crack on the backside where the support is. But most of the time, I am well aware of my item and its construction and its condition. So people think that, you know, hey, well, you got to come down on price because that's there. No, that's why it's priced where it's priced, because that's there. Yeah, maybe I'll take this up to the antique mall. It's got I think a lot of charm to it. It's, you know, over-engineered. That's a good thing. Back in the day, that means, you know, if something needed to be a 1/4 inch thick, they made it a 1/2 inch thick. If it needed to be 3 inches long, they made it 4 inches long. But now things are under-engineered. They're like, hey, we can sell this and it'll stay together for about a year before it falls apart. So they'll under-engineer things and figure just so long as, you know, and then they can forget about blaming us. They'll just say, oh, I guess we just wore it out. No, it was just poorly made, and that's why it only lasted a year. This thing, like I said, it's probably 100 years old. And other than the wood cracking on it and the grime that's accumulated, you know, is as nice as the day it was made. All right, well, thanks for hanging with me. This is Secondhand Dan saying goodbye and see you. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, bye-bye, comment.